Hello, neighbor.
This Thanksgiving,
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Please won't you be my neighbor?
it only takes one person
We are trying to give the world positive ways of dealing with their feelings.
Yeah? Like what?
to inspire a world of kindness.
There are many things you can do.
Based on the true story of the friendship between Mr. Rogers and a cynical journalist.
You love broken people like me.
Sometimes we have to ask for help, and that's okay.
Starring Tom Hanks and Matthew Reese.
I think the best thing we can do is to let people know that each one of them is precious.
A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. In theaters November 22nd. For tickets and showtimes, go to resources.abeautifulday.movie.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions, from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at mediaangels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey everyone and welcome. This is Felice Gerwitz with Vintage Homeschool Moms. Today we are going to talk about traditions and celebrations. We want to talk about the true meaning of Christmas and how we can really celebrate this with our families. This is episode 386, and you can find the show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And be sure to sign up for our e-zine. It is available. It comes out to you weekly. And if you are part of our email group, you will get the planner for this month, and you will be blessed. Our planners really have you in mind. And I just love when I get emails from some of you. I had a really cute email recently from a mom who said she felt so guilty downloading this 60-something page planner for free. But that's my gift to you. I am a vintage mom. I've been there, and it is really fun for me to put these together because it has some things that we've talked about in podcasts on this network, as well as some really quick things you can print out to do with your kids. Well, today I have a very special guest, and you're going to be blessed when you hear her. And if you have listened to some of our past episodes of Vintage Homeschool Moms, she has been a guest, and that is Denise Mira. Welcome, Denise.
So good to be here, Felice.
Oh, gosh. We have had fun on some of our previous episodes, and guys, you really want to connect with Denise. She is on social media, and you can find out more information at her website, which is just her name, DeniseMira.com. And Denise, you have kids that are like mine, grown up, and now you're enjoying, just an extended family, as well as, your life having such fullness after all of these years of homeschooling. So share with us a little bit about your family and also the book that you wrote.
Wow. We are so thankful in this season of life that we are enjoying so much of the fruit of those seeds that we labored planting for decades. As I know so many listeners right now, Mama, as you're listening, sometimes you're just so weary and you're not sure you're doing it right and you're missing blocks, and are you crippling your kids, and do you need to do this program? I was there. I get it. Felice and I so get it. But just stay the course. Stay the course for the joy set before you, because now I've got 5 adult sons, age 35 down to 24. I've got daughter-in-laws who are just my own daughters. I just don't even say in-law. They're just mine. I've got grandchildren who are being home educated, and we're just so blessed. But because I had just recently become born again and met my husband and got married at 18 and married a pastor, I was just pioneering at every level. I was never going to get married. I was never going to have kids. So as God began to change my heart, and I was having one baby boy after another, I just journaled and journaled and journaled, and it became a book and just a manual of my philosophy of children, of my understanding that we as homeschool parents are revolutionaries, changing the culture we live in, transforming our world. And that's exactly what you're doing. Sometimes you just feel like a frumpy housewife, but that is a lie from the pit. You are an amazing woman, no less than Abigail Adams. And so this is the heartbeat of my book, was really to train up extraordinary children, and not just to live in the muddle of the middle. And God has answered my prayers, and He's answered my faith. Life isn't perfect, but I just am so thankful that now I get to enjoy being best friends with my adult children. They're my prayer support, my tech help, my everything. They're so
wonderful.
At the end of the day, yes, the book is called No Ordinary Child. Unlocking the leader within your child, because your child might be quiet as a mouse, but there's a leader inside there that will point the way to Jesus, point the way to the right way to live life, and that's what I believe. So and that's who I am, and I've got a lot of free stuff that just tools to help parents. I so believe in you, and I so want to inspire and just give you a shove forward, because I know I needed that so desperately in that season. I needed life to be spoken to me, and hope and clarity. So good to be here.
And you know what? It's amazing because we didn't have the internet like they do now. And sometimes there's such an overrun of information. So, guys, you're really going to want to go over and check out Denise's website as well as her book. I have a copy, and I absolutely loved it. And it's just really will change your life and how you think about, motherhood and raising kids. And so, Denise, today we are going to talk about traditions and celebrations. A lot of times we do things because, well, this is how we've always done it. And, every once in a while we change things up. Like our big different thing that we did last Thanksgiving was I allowed my children to deep fry a turkey. They have been wanting to do that for forever, and I couldn't because my sister-in-law came that has some dietary restrictions, God bless her, and she would always have the organic turkey flown in here, and it would be waiting for when she came, and she prepared it, which was absolutely delicious. Thank God I have 3 ovens. I have a contractor husband too, and so my kids thought they didn't like turkey, and then her turkey's delicious. I mean, it's to die for. And I'd make turkey soup afterwards. I mean, it was so good. But anyway, that was their thing. And I would just, when they would ask me, I would just say, we don't do that. And why not? Well, we never have. So my one son, who now works, he's actually in partnership with my husband. And so he said, I'm going to go buy everything. And I already know the money involved in a huge thing of peanut oil, which is one of the things that you fry, turkeys in. Anyway, so they did that. And it did not come out great. It didn't. A little bit, well, they injected it with too many spices. But the point was, parts of it were edible. We had a lot of other food. And they want to try it again, which I probably will let them. But I have, at some point in your life, you let go of expectations. And what I want to talk to you about is, what is the true meaning? Is the true meaning of the celebration that we had this perfect turkey, which it was perfect, or is the true meaning our memories of, thank goodness they did it safely, the turkey did, I think it was the seasoning that overcooked, because they did it the right amount of time, or is that going to be, they're going to talk about that turkey for forever, right, with their families. That's the one that they're going to talk about. So share with us, the true meaning of what the holidays are.
Well, I have to tell you, I am not your typical type A traditional. I so admire women who do the same thing every year at the same time. I've got family members like that. I've got daughter-in-laws with mamas like that. And and I'll sit and look at them and think, oh, I admire that so much, but that's not the box I can live in. And so actually, I am more organic and more flexible, and there are some things that pretty much happen the same every year, but I'm more of an out of the box person, and maybe it's because I'm an artist or writer, I don't know. But at the end of the day, we have to be who we are. And the bottom line for me, I really saw myself as discipling my family, as having a boarding school with, being able to impact my children at every level. And James 1:17 says, everything good, every perfect gift comes from God. And we just organically marinate in that concept year long, so Bible and prayer and traditions, they're not religious exercises. It's our life. It's the foundation of our lives, and it just spills over into the holidays. And so instead of looking for Christmas and, it doesn't feel like Christmas, we are Christmas. We are the message of Christmas. We are the shining light in the darkness. And that's how we try to live every day. No, we're not perfect. Yeah, we have blunders, and so the things that now I do, but the special things at the holidays, things that I love, and I don't know if you want to kind of go down this list. It was so funny. I was thinking about Advent calendars, and I wasn't raised to have an Advent calendar. I didn't know what an Advent calendar was. I didn't even know. I was learning the Bible at 18, right? So by the time I was a young mom, all these things were so new to me. But I saw on the news that Tiffany's jewelry company came out with a $112,000 Advent calendar this year. I thought that was so funny. I know, right? Just
what every family needs, right?
Yeah, exactly. But so Advent calendars are they come in so many forms, and basically what that's all about is just reminding everyone what this is all about, what this party is all about, why we're hanging our lights, what we're looking forward to. And I saw, which was so cool, mothers change the world in so many ways, and the mothers listening today, their hands are imprinting their kids in powerful ways. And I read about Advent calendars that it was a German mama that started this whole thing and made her son a calendar of 24 tiny treats back in the 19th century. And here we are today, every kind of Advent calendar, secular and Christian, but basically it's about just keeping that word before our children, not in a religious way, but in a life-giving way. And, perhaps memorizing the word daily, joyfully reminding them of our blessed Savior coming to earth. And so that's really how I approach every holiday. I may not have, the stocking sung on this date, this thing in them, and do that particular Christmas card, but I will, throughout the season, the love of Christ and the life of Christ permeates everything that I endeavor to do.
I love that. And actually, I do have an Advent calendar activity, and that is going to be part of the downloads for the month of December. If you are part of our email list at the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. Yeah, what happened years ago was I wanted to make a keepsake, and so I have, because we have some businesses in our home. And so we have an abundance of file folders. So I ended up making a very easy file folder just open with some slots in it, and I just labeled it for the months or the days of the month, countdown to Christmas. But I wanted a scripture verse on each card that I gave, and I just used index cards, or you can cut them out. And so I gave parents like a scripture verse you can use every day, but on the back, Denise, you write your kids a little note. And so it's better to do it ahead of time because, you get overwhelmed. And I had 3 I was doing it with at the same time, and you want each note to be personal. And to this day in their rooms, and I've said this to them, 2 of them are in college. I said, why don't you take that down? It's still hanging in their room. And it's because it was really special to them, and the little cards are still in there, and then the grandkids come sometimes, some of them are missing, but that's okay because it was something that they kept year after year, and each one I had them make their own and decorate it, and then I like each morning at breakfast, I gave them a card and they read it and we studied the scripture and then they put it in their little slot and it was a countdown. So it could be something very basic, or extravagant, as you shared with us. That's just hilarious. The secular world getting into the countdown. But, we as Christians keep that focus, which is the Lord. And so that's wonderful. And so, you also talk about a nativity scene. And friends, as you're listening to this, these points will be on the show notes as well as links to Denise's website. So if you're in the car, don't worry. You don't need to pull over. We'll have this information for you in our show notes. So tell us about the nativity scene.
Well, and also I want to remind your listeners that it's not about how much everything costs. We are so blessed in America that everybody gives their abundance to thrift stores and Goodwills and garage sales. And I don't know if I ever paid full price for a nativity scene, but we always had at least one, and the kids love that. Their little childlike hearts love it. I'd find G.I. Joes dangling from the roof, and
funny.
Sometimes it would be a sort of a celebration moment where, you're reading the Christmas story and little Johnny or Jill gets to, put the little character under the little, in the manger area and the hay. And it's however it works for you. If you have little children, their little hearts delight in the simplest of things. And I would just find them so often playing with that, making the little characters talk. Right now, back then, we were on a shoestring. I didn't realize how poor we were. But nowadays, my kids, they have like a play. I know. I'm just like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing I didn't know. But my kids have a couple of my kids have the Playmobil set, and they just love it. And they pull it out every year, and it's just this moment. It's almost a holy moment of recognizing that this is so special, and this is the meaning of Christmas, and this is our focus. And it's just getting in their DNA those little things of taking the time to focus. Maybe that's where you read your Christmas cards. Maybe that's where you read your Advent scriptures. I don't know, but it had a special place, and it still does in our home. And it can be the humblest little thing. It can be a homemade thing. It can be from the Dollar Tree. But Santa just wasn't the star. And, it wasn't a big evil sin, but we just kind of, he wasn't a focal point or dominant in our decor or our chatter or our gift giving. He's just a jovial fictional character who needs Jesus. I didn't make a big, huge deal of it. But that nativity scene, and then of course when we would bake Jesus a birthday cake, and we didn't do that every year, but we did. I remember one year in particular that the kids each had. We were carefully caring for a single mom and her young children, and I said, for Jesus' birthday celebration, we're going to make him a cake. How about everybody pray during the time, and in my homeschool anyway. Morning time was journal time and Bible reading time from the youngest age. And, in your time with God in the mornings, ask him what you can give the single mama. And then, they put their little notes by the nativity set and the birthday cake. It was so simple and so humble and so financially cheap, but so impactful. And they got to help bless this single parent family. And so that's just a little bit of a thing that kind of ties together. We did so many homemade faith-based ornaments and Christmas cards, and you can make little boxes out of, Pinterest is loaded, of course. Back then we didn't have Pinterest, but there were just little things on a cardboard. Right. Actually, I think maybe we were blessed not to have so much of these distractions and pressures and expectations, because I am not Martha Stewart and I am not Pinterest Polly. And there's times I so admire that. I love going to my friends' houses who have, they have all their doors always have a different wreath or something, whether it's Thanksgiving or February or whatever. But I just, that's just not my gift. But I appreciate it, but I have to be me. And so consequently, we would use popsicle sticks or old, Christmas cards or cardboard or, just to make special little things that had something to do with Jesus. And you could Google a million things. Gosh, we always took care of elderly people with baking holiday. Part of our tradition and celebration really was taking care of our my neighbors, serving them holiday goodies. We took them part of our meal because they don't cook. And Meals on Wheels are awesome, but when it's really home cooked from your neighbor, there's nothing like that. That was always a tradition and a celebration of what we could give to somebody who couldn't do for themselves. We loved things like, it doesn't sound very spiritual, but like the Muppet Christmas Carol movie. It's got
funny.
So you could do a whole unit study on the proverbial aspect of the backbone of that whole story. Out of Proverbs, riches, humility, we are a mist, joy, the joy of big families, how God provides. I mean, there's a million things about. And then I had a big, massive Muppet Christmas Carol puzzle, but we always brought it back to Jesus, and because He is our life, in Him we live and move and have our being. So whether we were ordering a puzzle, or actually back then I didn't order it, I got it at Target or Walmart or something. Now you can just look it up on Amazon and get a really well-priced kids puzzle that's got a faith-based, and so it's always sitting there. It's not just Santa and stockings. It's the manger. It's Mary and Joseph. It's the donkey. It's just continually just really reflecting and having that through the mood of the entire month. Really, to me, is how we can best celebrate that and have a tradition. Jesus is our tradition. Christmas Veggie Tales, they're amazing. We would go to candlelight services, and sometimes maybe you have house churches or you have a church that doesn't do a candlelight service, but you can find them and they welcome you. And it's just it's a holy moment of pausing and just exulting in the beautiful music that glorifies God and revisiting the Christmas story. And so many of these things. I have wonderful relationships with my daughter-in-law's mothers, so we're very close, and I appreciate all they can give into my kids' lives as well as I do. But one of them is so type A, and she's so organized, and she has costumes, and the kids, on Christmas, their Christmas celebration, they all get to put a little part of a costume on and act out the Christmas story. I think that's awesome. If you have the resources and the organizational capability and the joy to go, get those things at thrift shops and do it. The kids remember it. They love it. This year, as part of my tradition, I'm going to do the shoe boxes, the Operation Christmas Child shoe boxes with Good Samaritan. I'm going to do that with my grandkids and begin that tradition. So many. I know you must have traditions that you really treasure, that really impacted your children.
Yeah, a lot of the things that you said resonate. We also did, Denise and I did a podcast on ministry during the holidays, and that's available on the website. You'll want to go listen to that because I think a lot of that helped put some things into perspective for our kids, and that's episode 385. Just so many things similar to you. I do, like one of my, I'm also, we do have a lot in common. I'm not musical at all, although I do like to sing, but I like art. I used to paint a lot when I had more time for that. Also, I like to decorate, but seasonally. I'm not a big, home decorator where I can go to a store and see a pillow that would just fit just perfectly on my couch. I'm not like that at all. But I do like to decorate for the fall and for Christmas and Easter. Those are my big holidays. And I just have, over the years, purchased things. I got these candles at, it was after bridal season at one of the craft stores for 25 cents. And you should see, like, some of them are huge, kind of pillar candles. And they're just a off-white. They're a little bit maybe more cream color. But I use those all year long. Like, I can put some of those out. I don't even light them. So I want to use these candles forever, Denise. Every once in a while I have lit them, but there are too many little ones around anymore to make that be a wise decision. My daughter always asks the grandchildren, were you thinking wisely? So I asked myself that question one year when I decided to light them.
Well, Costco has, the whole world has these flameless candles now with the LED,
they do.
And they flicker,
They really
and they've come so far that people walk in my house and actually think, and I've got them everywhere now. My husband's Italian, and he loves to decorate, and So that's that. Now I give them to my little grandchildren to put in their bedrooms because I know there's no problem. So I get you there.
And then it's good. Yeah. So I mean, we go all out, and because I live in Florida and I miss the fall season, my husband, as we're recording this, we're actually in the fall season. We're recording a little bit early, but he has promised we're going to get in the car, and I even dreamed that we had gotten in the car like we've talked about and just drive north until we see some fall leaves. Just for me, he's going to do that to me. So I love the man, because there's something that I just love about the season, and the season's changing does help you get into that mood. So because outdoors is gorgeous, I was blessed to be able to sit out in my lanai yesterday, and I had my feet propped up and my computer out there, and I was able to work for 3 or 4 hours. It was just beautiful out there. And so I'm blessed in other ways. Yeah, there's no snow here. I heard it was snowing in Colorado this morning. But it's nice. And so, there's some trade-offs, but that helped me. And I didn't go buy this all at once. We had, some really, a season of, having to cut way back, when the economy hit, and our diversification of companies was all construction related. I mean, our town pretty much shut down, but it was okay because I like to make things, and it was so much better that Christmas was one of the best where we could just make some things and just do things differently. My kids are still waiting for me to paint them a picture. That's what we talk about. And, if I can etch out some time, I would like to. The little kids, see, I paint with my grandkids all the time. So they came over, and we took, we do crafts every year that are Christmas presents. So that's one of the traditions I do with the little ones. And I found these tiny little canvases. They were maybe 1 inch by 1 inch. And we scour the internet, for pictures that they want. And, Grandma draws them out because they don't want to draw them, or the older girls will. But we did some pictures with refrigerator magnets on the back. And
brilliant.
So the kids each did a picture for their mom that they could put. And because they're not OCD, but my son-in-law and my daughter are both, their house is perfect. With 8 kids, you can walk in there every once in a while and it might be a disaster, but like in 10 minutes it's all cleaned up because they don't like, and the kids are allowed to, it's their home and they're great. I mean, it's not like they can't do anything because they do. But so the magnets are on the side of their refrigerator instead of in the front. So I'm sharing that information. But it's so awesome because I'll go over there and they want to show them to me. Look where we have them, Grandma. I also have this Santa hat. We didn't do Santa either, so I think it's really funny because that was the only time in my life that I remembered my parents lying to me. And so as a kid, it just shocked me because they were always so honest that I just didn't, it's not like we ignored them and we didn't see movies with Santa in it, but we just never made a big deal about it. And I didn't let my kids ruin anybody else's, But we had the Santa hat that floated around. So last year I had this gorgeous fireplace, and I sat the kids in front of it, and we took pictures of them in hats that came out fabulously. And, the printers are wonderful now. So the kids made ornaments for their mom and dad. So, there's just a lot of things that took no time at all to do. And, I had to remind them that they were making these ornaments, so they wanted to smile. Because, sometimes kids can be really silly. My grandkids take the most hilarious pictures ever. The boys, they go back to back with their arms folded. It's like, where do you find these people? They're just hilarious, with their little poses and things. And so anyway, whatever it is you do, whether it's something you've always done or, just make sure that the kids are front and center. I mean, I cannot tell you how many memories my kids still have, and they talk about some things I didn't know they did. I never had ones that, unwrapped presents because we never put presents under the tree ahead of time. But, they'll tell me some things that they were just spelt, It was so funny. And I just love those stories now. That it's so, so funny, especially homeschool stories, that they would tell me some of the things and their antics. And it was really, really funny to hear them. So you want those. The idea of tradition really is to make memories, right? It is something that you want the children to talk about, whether it's that, turkey that was fried to death, or whether it was, something that was made the holiday special. And I just want to add here quickly, I didn't say one word about the turkey. I just looked at them, and we served parts of it that we could serve. And God bless my, one of our relatives who said, that parts of it were the best ever. So that's why my sons are reinvigorated for this year. So I may have a better report for next year.
That's awesome. And you do that outside in Florida, right?
Yes.
You do these turkeys outside. Right. And so, that's got to be so much fun. When we lived in a hot climate, we would pack the kids up in our 15-passenger van or whatever we had at the time and drive around and see the lights, because I think that warm places like Florida, Texas, different places that aren't experiencing snow or as much of the changing of seasons, they make up for it in their lights. I swear they do. And it's amazing what you could see. And we'd play Christmas music as we went around. We'd take some unsaved friends with us. Something else that our children loved, and this is so cheap too, is to hang a string of lights in their bedroom. If you can do a little mini tree from a thrift shop or something, that's so much fun. But if you can't, you can talk about how Jesus came to be the light of the world, and just so every time they go to bed, and those little twinkle lights are over their bed, and they're thinking about Jesus. Because they're children. They're so tender and moldable, and it doesn't have to be high stress perfect. It just has to be Jesus. You can ask them who's on their heart to bless for Christmas. That should be a tradition. Who should we pray for tonight during your Advent time? Who needs something? You're amazed at what comes out of their little mouths. We have a thing where, you could, during that 24 days of Advent, or how many ever days of Advent, maybe your Advent is only 5 days, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't have to hit it every night, but ask them a miracle that Jesus has done in their life or somebody's life they know. And just, a little child shall lead them, the word says. And it's amazing what our little children are aware of, their perception, their understanding. It blows your mind, and it reinforces to them what that season is about without having to be religious. And what I mean by religious is binding or legalistic, or Jesus came to set us free, and Christmas. However Christmas comes out of your heart to your children and their hearts, is good enough. It doesn't have to be polished and perfect and organized. If you don't have a lot of money to spend, a little plate of cookies and a card. And part of our family members have done this every single year. We will always get a box of their homemade butter toffee with chocolate on top. And the card will have every child's signature on it, and the oldest has stamped the card. It's just precious, and it's their way of giving generously, and that's been their tradition for decades.
Yeah.
So it's just whatever comes to you and that you have the grace for. That's where life comes from. Life doesn't come when we force things and it's hard and we're exhausted and we can barely even make our own stuff. It's right. When grace is there, that's when life can be released, God life. And that's what I want for my family. That's what I want for your family, because we need more grace, grace. We're struggling in so many ways,
Yeah, and it just adds extra pressure. My daughter has perfected Grandma Mart, which was my husband's mother, our grandmother. Her chocolate fudge recipe, it's a very difficult one to make. It's not the chewy stuff that you can just put condensed milk. It's the kind that falls apart and is like sugar. Praise God, I do not like it, so that saves me. But everybody else in the family like my one niece wanted to pay Anne to send her batches like 3 times a year or 4 times a year. They love it that much.
Wow.
And so that is not very expensive to make.
Right.
But it's very tedious to make. So that's her thing. And, you know, it's those kinds of traditions, again, it's not something they could go to the store and buy. So if there is that treasured family recipe or whatever that is that you do with your family, and we do the same thing with the Christmas lights.
We do too. Same thing.
Yeah, that you could actually walk. They allowed you to walk around their yard, and then they had a donation box. Like years past, they would give the kids candy canes if they were allowed to have them, and then they had a donation box where they would just give that money, you know, to a set charity. And this family actually started it after one of their children died near the holiday season. So instead of, you know, looking at it as this, you know, which it was a very tragic thing, but they took that tragedy and that child's love of Christmas and celebrated it with, you know, so many people. It was in the newspaper, and it was actually 2 blocks from where I live. I live on acreage, so they had 5 acres, and it was such a blessing. So again, and this is what my uncle would always say to me. You know, the Italian proverbs, right? There's so many of them. But my uncle would walk in with a wad of $1 bills. He was very well off, but he was so funny because when Uncle Tony came in, those kids lined up, and he would ask them how old they were, and he would just shell out the dollar. And you know, can you imagine? I married into a German-Irish family, and it's like that's not how things are done. And my uncle just disrupted everything. I mean, my whole family, it was just like, you know, and I never made excuses. That was one of the things that, you know, they never embarrassed me. It was just who we were, right? It was part of our culture, how I grew up. And so Uncle Tony would just say, how old are you? I mean, my kids laugh about it now because he's gone to be with the Lord. But they would always say, you know, well, where's Uncle Tony when we need him? You know, shelling out that, you know, money as they got older. And
the favorite guest.
Right. And he would always say, because I would kind of say to my sister-in-laws, you know, sorry. I mean, some of them were appalled. And my one sister-in-law said to me, are you kidding me? Uncle Tony's the star of my kids. Her kids loved it and talked about it, hoped that he was coming. And he would always say to me, you know, you are building memories. I mean, it's a little gauche, right? But he would say you are building memories.
No, that's the key right there. Yep.
But he grew up very, very poor. He was one of 14. You should see this picture. I don't even know what happened to it, but his family was the most beautiful family ever. You know, his mother was radiant, even with 14 children in Italy. He talked about taking his cow down the street, and they would sell fresh milk from this cow. Like, I mean, this is poorer than he was 9 when he got the privilege of doing that, because that allowed him to earn shoes. And so he came from a background where they knew real poverty, and so when now that he was able to have money, and he had a store and so forth, so on. So you know, it was so amazing to him that now he had the resources that he was going to bless every little kid in the family during the holidays or whenever he came over. So, you know, we just sometimes have to let go, and that's not the point of the holidays is, you know, how many dollars you're going to get. But the idea is to allow people to, you know, do their thing and just let it go, friends. You know, so much of this is just, you know, not worth worrying about. It just really isn't. And so I just love having you on, Denise. Yeah.
The key thing you said just now was you're making memories. And I know that can be so, but we have to pause and think, what memory are we really making as moms? And that scripture comes to mind, a wise woman builds her house, but a foolish woman tears it down. Keep a beautiful spirit. Keep a happy heart. Keep a good mood. How much ever money you have, how much ever things go wrong, how many ever traditions you don't have, who comes in like Uncle Tony, you know, breaking up, changing the rules, doesn't matter. keep a happy heart, a smile on your face. I'm amazed that my kids think I'm so awesome, because I see my flaws and failures, and I see what I missed. Oh, I missed so many things, and I think, how did I miss? But they just see me through the eyes of love, and I think it's hugely because God gave me that grace to keep a right spirit, keep love, keep smiling, and anybody can do that, no matter what you have or don't have. By you wake up early, you get that portion from God, and you pour that out into your home. You are the spirit of your home. So make those memories sweet memories, even if they're just candy canes. Your kids are going to remember. They really are.
They are.
Thanks for having me, Felice. It's been fun.
Take care. And then, guys, you can find the show notes for today's episode, Traditions and Celebrations, episode 386, at Vintage Homeschool Moms. Take care. God bless, and have a wonderful holiday. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.